You might have read the question in the thumbnail. But before I explain how Vroom's expectancy theory proposes the answer, let me repeat the question once again. Why is it so that sometimes employees or even our kids don't feel motivated enough despite promised incentives or rewards? As the answer, Mr. Vroom proposed that motivation is like a tripod stool with three legs. Any of these legs is broken and the stool will topple. And these three legs are expectancy, instrumentality, and valence. So, for better understanding, let me reverse the sequence of definitions and examples. Allow me to present to you some real life examples first, and later I'll connect these examples to the theory part. So, suppose on a particular morning I told my daughter to study a new chapter from her book on her own and to complete all its exercises before I come back from office in the evening. She did all that, but when I came back from the office, I was too tired to discuss with her about her studies. I neither praised how well she had completed the exercises in the chapter, nor did I appreciate her efforts in trying to understand the chapter on her own. And this happened on next few consecutive occasions also. Now in another situation, suppose as an employee you have a perception in your mind that your boss doesn't like you due to some personal reasons whatsoever. Which means that whatever the case may be, you are not going to get a good appraisal. Now, when we try to think what is common in these two scenarios, we find that the kid in the scenario 1 and the employee in scenario 2 somehow tend to believe that whatever the case may be, their efforts won't get recognized. So, according to Mr. Vroom, the leg of expectancy is broken in this case, and thus the tripod stool of motivation is supposed to topple. This leg of expectancy can also break in scenario 3, where suppose my kid is not that good at mathematics. In all her exams, she has been scoring around 60% marks, but just 3 days before her final mathematics exam, I tell her that if she scores 99%, I'll buy her an iPhone. In this scenario, also, my daughter wouldn't feel motivated despite me having promised her an incentive because looking at her previous scores, she believes that despite her best efforts, she would not be able to score 99% in her mathematics exam with just 3 days to go. Similarly, in scenario 4, suppose a bank official has already sold some or the other insurance or investment product to almost all his affluent customers in the previous financial year, but this year he has been given a target 4 times larger compared to the previous year. And also, he is promised some incentive on achieving this target. The bank official also might perceive the target as non achievable and might not feel motivated about it despite the promised incentives. So while in scenario 1 and 2, leg of expectancy was broken because the kid as well as the employee perceived that whatever may be the case, their efforts won't get recognized. In scenario 3 and 4, leg of expectancy was broken because the kid as well as the employee perceived that despite their best efforts, they will not be able to achieve the target. So basically, when we say that the leg of expectancy is broken, we also want to say that the link between effort and performance is broken, so that it is perceived by the employee or the kid that a given amount of effort might not generate the expected performance. And in such a case, no promise of incentive might motivate a subject. Now let's discuss scenario 5, where suppose multiple times I have promised my daughter a gift on her getting good marks in exams, but I forget that promise every time after the exam results or simply keep postponing fulfillment of the promise for whatever reason. In scenario 6, let's say, based on the previous experiences, an employee believes that even if he or she achieves his or her targets, the promotion or any other rewards will be given to an employee who is senior or who is closer to the boss. So, in scenarios 5 and 6, recognition of performance is not an issue, but link between performance and reward is missing, which may be also called as breaking of the leg of instrumentality, which would again lead to toppling of motivation tripod stool. In other words, in scenarios 5 and 6, performance is not perceived instrumental for achieving rewards. Now, let's talk about the third leg of the motivation tripod stool, which is called valence as per the Vroom'S expectancy theory. In scenario 7, suppose you are an owner of a bookstore and in the last 2 standards or classes your son scored well. He was rewarded, but while he likes music and would like to have a musical instrument as the reward, you gave him a set of books instead from your bookstore because you had been gifting the same set of books to your nephew and he seemed to enjoy reading those books. In scenario 8, a bank officer who has been posted far away from his home and has been requesting for transfer somewhere near his hometown has worked exceedingly well and achieved more than his targets. His bosses called him in an official function and he was felicitated and was given a trophy. And this happened consecutively twice on his exceeding the targets. The employee may not work with same motivation next time because the link between rewards and fulfillment of personal goals is broken. So in scenarios 7 and 8, though the employee and the kid have been rewarded, but the reward doesn't fulfill their personal goals. And thus we can say that the leg of valence of the tripod stool of motivation is broken. So, at last, on the basis of Vroom's expectancy theory, we can say that if any of the links between efforts, performance, rewards, or fulfillment of personal goals is missing, attempts to motivate the subject might fail. So, this was all from my side on Vroom's expectancy theory. Keep learning.